And I'll give you a quick example. Not this incident, but a previous incident. There was a student who made a threat, and we went to that home. We spoke to those parents. We searched that room to ensure that there was not any access to weapons with that student. And that complaint turned out to be a false complaint. So this is a quick example of the fact that the Southfield Police Department takes threats seriously, and we do investigate them very thoroughly for the safety of the school and our community.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm glad you lifted that particular scenario, because that happened on a Friday, and many were contacting us over the weekend, and on Monday morning, they were upset that we had not closed school. Anytime that we are engaged in an active investigation, there are certain things that we cannot share with the community. And at some point, we ask that you, through our relational trust and through our track record, know that we are doing everything possible to ensure the safety of all. On Monday morning, in that particular case, when we opened school, we were comfortable and confident in opening school on that Monday, because we knew that that student, having made the threat, one, it was not credible, and two, that student was in custody. So if you are not hearing from the school district and or an official agency such as the police department, please know that we are doing everything behind the scenes in collaboration to ensure that you are safe. Every time we have to stop to address another matter, it takes us off the investigation and therefore prolongs us coming to some closure as it pertains to these particular scenarios. Also, it's important to lift, if you've had a chance to watch Sheriff Bouchard earlier today, he mentioned, in conjunction with the FBI, who is now here with an increased presence because this is extremely serious, that anyone sharing false information on social media, be it credible, any information on social media, be it credible or not, that could be considered domestic terrorism, is subject to prosecution. And they are prosecuting individuals that have false information being spread throughout social media. So part of our job as educators is also make sure that everyone is aware of the potential ramifications of sharing this information. Now, by all means, if you see it, share it with officials that can do something about it. Don't repost it and or pass it along to others through airdrop or any other means that you may have access to, because that is considered sharing it on social media, and you may have to answer to a higher authority when the time comes. Let the police department know, let the school district know, let the sheriff's department know, Oakland County Sheriff's Department, and or go to our partner with OK to Say at michigan.gov and notify us. It's also important to note that if you see something that may be credible, don't gloss over it and think that it doesn't have value, because we never know until we properly investigate each and every scenario. So as the chief has said to me on a number of occasions, as well as the sheriff's department, give us more information, not less, and allow us to do our job to determine the credibility of those particular cases. To my parents on the call, please know what your children are doing. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, just a few of the many social media platforms. Students have their own language on social media. And for some of us that are now more seasoned, we are trying to figure it out along the way. But the chief has a number of individuals on his team that specialize in these areas. So if there's something that you are unaware of, or it doesn't seem right or sound right, or the acronym that they put together doesn't make sense, check with someone who is an expert in that area. But parents, please monitor what's out there on these social media platforms, and also take some ownership and responsibility about what you post on social media, because sometimes we stir the pot. While not intentional, we do, and we create a frenzy within our own community. I had to apologize to the chief because he's one of the more courageous ones still on social media, and I'm not. And he said that his social media posts, or his what do you call it, direct messages? Is that what it is, chief? They were blowing him up, and I felt bad because it was about the school district. So I did apologize to him, and I'm publicly apologizing to him now. If there's something relative to the school district, please reach out to the school district. You can reach out to the chief because we have nothing to hide, but we encourage you to get credible sources as you go through the process. Next slide, please, Ms. Summer. We do have the Q&A feature open as well. So if you have questions relative to the content that we're sharing this evening, please, by all means, put it in the Q&A, and we will get to that shortly. We are not going to have time to address individual personal circumstances, but if you put it in the chat, we will keep all of the transcript, and we will get back to you as it pertains to your respective area. Emergency operations. Everyone wants to know, what is Southfield doing? You may recall a few years back, I think it's 3 now, pre-pandemic, we started on the revision of our emergency operations plans. And part of that is to, one, make sure that we're compliant with the law. Then we want to make sure that we're compliant with the policies. And our policies are outlined and adopted by our Board of Education. They are our governing body. On the call this evening, you have our board president, Mr. Charles Hicks. President. I see our treasurer, Ashanti Bland. I see trustee Ware Duval. And I believe I saw trustee Johnson. I'm not sure if he was moved up yet. If not, please move up trustee Johnson as well. And I'm not sure if there are any other trustees in the attendee list. If they are, team, keep an eye out and please move them up as well. I say all that to say this. Oftentimes, educators are faced with adversarial parents, adversarial students, and adversarial communities. We are here to educate. We went through the colleges of education, and we want nothing but the best for our children, because we truly view each and every one of them as our children. When we are implementing the policies, the procedures, and the laws, it's because we are mandated to do so. And oftentimes, in the heat of the moment, parents don't understand that. Given what occurred this past week and some of the other cases that we've witnessed throughout the country, I am here to share that disturbing the peace or disruption of the peace, whichever we call it here in Southfield, can result in our school resource officers removing you from our campuses. We have 3 school resource officers that have been assigned to our school district, and we're most fortunate to have them. And at this time, I'd like to acknowledge Officer Jared. I don't believe he's on the call, but I will say this. Officer Jared, no matter what is happening, he is always there. He was there with a situation this week at one of our schools. He was there on 12 Mile when there was a car accident. He was there when we have parent disputes. No matter where you look, Officer Jared is there. Now, the other 2 are out and about as well. We have a new one that just joined our team while one is on leave. Can you remind me of his name? Chief Barron, he just joined us this week.
Yeah, it's Officer Walker. Officer Walker.
Officer Walker, and we welcome him back to Southfield Public Schools because he's an alumni of our district. So Officer Walker will be with us while Officer Hood is away, and we also have Officer Maya. So grateful to have them as well. But parents, we just ask that you be mindful of the laws, policies, and procedures that have been put in place, not only for our staff safety, but for the safety of your students as well. Next slide, I have about 20 text messages coming in, so I'm trying to multitask. Please move up trustee Rice. Team, I know that I'm usually really good with watching all my devices at one time, but after 17 straight hours of calls, I may not be able to pick up on my devices as fast as I have in the past. So thank you. We have a number of resources available. We started building our resources prior to the pandemic. We have Ascension Hospital. We are in the process of opening our Southfield Ascension School-Based Health Center, which is located inside of Southfield A&T. We have Easter Seals, and we have the Oakland County Health Network, and we also have CNS. The reason I lift those particular 4 out of all of the partnerships we have, all of these deal with mental health supports. And mental health has been something that our community doesn't really engage in, or there's a stigma that to engage in mental health supports is taboo. It is not. We have all experienced trauma, most recently with this global pandemic. If you recall, Southfield was the first It was the epicenter of Michigan, or at least southeastern Michigan, and we had the highest per pupil or per population positivity rates early on. So we have all experienced some type of trauma, and we don't know what type of traumatic event the next person has experienced. That being said, speak to a professional if needed. If you notice a change in one's behavior, you may want to refer them to one of these agencies. And we have all of this information listed in our community resource guide. Mr. Marshall did a really good job last year with the team putting that together. We will make sure that we get that pushed back out to all of our community, as well as reposted on our district webpage so that it's at your fingertips. We have the resources here for you, many of which come at no cost to you. So do not think that the medical insurance is a barrier and or your fiscal resources are barriers. If you are affiliated with the Southfield School District, these resources are here for you. Next slide. Well, I'm sorry. Well, everyone wants to see about this because I know they want to know about the schedule for this week. So we'll stay here and then we'll go back. The schedule for this week. To all the educators on the call, we owe you a debt of gratitude. That being said, this entire community, country, state, world has really placed a burden on your back since the pandemic started. You are human. You are the daughters, sons, wives, husbands, parents, siblings, spouses, partners to your loved ones. And you come to work every day and you give your all without question. That being said, tomorrow is a day for you to regroup, to reset, because this is taking an emotional, physical, and mental toll on you as well. This is probably the first time in history that all of Oakland County schools will be shutting down tomorrow. To my parents who email me, who are upset because we've closed schools for a variety of reasons, who are upset because of the timing of the closure, know that we make decisions that are data-driven, research-based, and scientifically proven. If we have to make a decision at the 11th hour, that is because we have received a data point that indicates we need to pivot. We are not here to inconvenience you or anyone else, but we are here to keep our community safe, our children safe, and our staff safe. So we ask you to bear with us as we go through these unprecedented times. On Monday of next week, there will be no classes for students. However, all staff are asked to report. When the staff report on Monday, they will work in their respective buildings on our emergency operating plans and procedures. And we will look at best practices, current best practices, because some of them have changed. We didn't have the pandemic when we first started this draft. We will look at what we have, we will look at what we need, and we will allocate resources to provide those needs, including additional training. While the staff is doing that at their respective buildings, there will be a group gathered in central office, inclusive of the police chief, the fire chief, Homeland Security, the tactical team from Oakland County, and a number of other individuals. Your safety matters. Our children matter, and our staff matter. Therefore, again, we ask that you bear with us. This afternoon, we had a conversation. When I say we, the Oakland County Supes met with the state superintendent, and he has given us grace to afford us these days at no penalty to the district to ensure that we are taking care of each other. If you could go back one slide, Summer. I know we missed a lot of resources because we do have a tremendous amount. Chief, I wanted you to specifically lift that of the CRT team that we have in the community, and the domestic violence team, and all the other great resources that you've brought through community policing, because I don't think people recognize how much we have to offer here in the community.
Yeah, and I'll start with our domestic violence. I know many of you are familiar with that. We've formed relationships specifically with Haven, who provides a mantra of resources. Also, Mrs. Margaret Hall, who oversees the Southland Domestic Violence Group. And so these agencies are available. And oftentimes we talk about the impacts of domestic violence as it relates to our schools. And what we discovered, and we learned this through Dr. Green, how when there's domestic violence incidents at home, how it affects the children and their learning ability when they're in classrooms. And so that was huge when Dr. Green brought that to our attention. It's something we are definitely monitoring. And that's why we have these relationships with the school to ensure that if there's issues, we can provide those resources that I've mentioned through those particular networks. And so when we talk about mental health and mental health crisis, the Southfield Police Department, we're currently working with Oakland County. As many of you know, Oakland County has many different resources. And what we're working on is having a mental health provider expert to partner with us. Right now, we're getting the data from Livonia. And I'm glad Dr. Green mentioned that word, making sure we get the data. Livonia is a like-sized city of Southfield. They currently have this process in place, but we want to make sure that it's appropriate. We want to make sure that the data suggests that we need this person with full-time, part-time, and how this person integrates with policing. And so after our evaluation period, we're going to present our plan to City Council for approval. And again, we'll have our own mental health provider to work along with law enforcement in the event of a mental health crisis. We'll have the individual to help guide us through that from a community and or resource standpoint.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm going to pull out a couple questions that I see that stand out, because I know that the buzzword around the state right now, in light of what happened at Oxford, is that of ALICE training. And I wanted to lift ALICE training. ALICE is a proprietary program, but the fundamentals of what they teach is not different than what our local and county lawmakers, or not lawmakers, our officials teach school districts. So when you hear the term ALICE, you think it's something that we must have. If you think of vehicles, cars, you think of General Motors, but another car is the same, has four wheels and gets you there. So we want to make sure that we have the fundamentals in place and not a particular program that is going to cost the district in perpetuity when we have the foundational pieces. So can you just speak a little bit about the training that all of the officers in Southfield as well as the county experienced, and which resulted in the Oakland County Tactical Unit? Is that correct? Did I get the name right?
Yes, so it's Oakland County Tactical Response Consortium.
Thank you.
And so we are meeting with that agency and Dr. Green on Monday, roughly 9 o'clock, to begin the initial planning stages to implement training throughout the school district. Dr. Green pointed out something very significant. ALICE is not the end all be all of this training. This training will be some variations of ALICE, but it's a combination of law enforcement experts who looked at incidents across the country and developed our own version of ALICE training that we feel will be most beneficial to the community and how they learn and receive this training. And so what we'll do when we meet with Dr. Green on Monday and her staff, we will have the individual from Oak Tech, which is the name of the consortium, Oak Tech, who will do a presentation to the police department, Dr. Green, others in the room, to make sure that we are on board with the teaching, which I'm confident we will, and then begin a process for implementation of this training as Dr. Green sees fit throughout the school district. And so, but I'm so glad you brought that up, because there's many different types of trainings out there, and it teaches really the concept of run, hide, fight. It teaches the concept to our children how to properly lock down their classrooms. So a mantra of different teachings, but we will get into those things. And then once it's approved through the police department, through the school district, we'll update the community on what direction we're going.
Thank you, Chief. Another question that I saw in the list was that of the physical infrastructure and what are our plans to upgrade those things. Everything we do, it comes with a cost. The resources of some type, either fiscal capital, human capital, or other forms of capital. That being said, we are committed to safety. And while we're committed to safety, we're going to be upgrading some pieces that are critical. And in doing so, there are going to be some other things that unfortunately will have to be placed on hold. We can't do everything all of the time. And for my trustees that are on the call, I thank you. I thank you for trusting me to lead the district throughout not only a global pandemic, but civil unrest and all other type of crisis that none of us could have ever imagined. So I thank you for being supportive and really carrying our message forward so that we can carry your vision forward, and keeping our community safe. Southfield has been leading in all areas from the time the global pandemic hit. And you'll notice once a decision is made in Southfield, because it is best practice, research-based, scientifically proven, many other areas follow suit once it is announced. We often get backlash when we make those announcements, but once people really look into the research behind it, they do see that it is what's best for not only our community but their community as well. So I just wanted to publicly thank the trustees for all that they have given in terms of supporting all of the many recommendations that we have brought forward and continuing to allocate our resources as a district, because that's one of their primary roles, is to make sure that the district stays financially solvent and that they're allocating the resources appropriately. So I thank you all for that. Board President, I'm not sure if you wanted to chime in on our commitment to buy additional things and what we discussed earlier may be forthcoming.
Absolutely, and thank you all. Hello, community, first of all. Chief, Dr. Green, team, community. It's been a rough couple of months. And to piggyback on what the Chief and Dr. Green are saying, we collaboratively as a community have to look at everything that we do, look at things that we need to do differently when it comes to fortifying our buildings. I'm going to be working with the chief and team next week to do that assessment to make sure, are there things can we do differently or more? Are there things that we need to change? And with change, money is needed. So we need the community's help so that when we seek additional funding to remediate, to enhance, to fortify our buildings, that we have those resources. Some folks, I think, have an idea that we have unlimited resources to make things happen. Definitely, the safety of our children is priority. I have 2 physical kids that go, biological kids that are in the district, and I have almost 6,000 bonus kids. So everything that I do is for them. Anything that we do is for them. So we need all hands on deck when we have to pivot. We need all hands on deck when we need supports in our buildings. And I hear the message that things aren't okay right now from the folks who are working in the buildings, from the folks who are receiving the supports from the teachers and various resources through the community. That the one thing that is okay to say. And I'm so appreciative that we have folk who are stepping up and doing that. But what I ask of you is when the district needs your support, that you're willing to help us do the things that we need to do to make sure that we continually improve our district. And I'm sorry, Dr. Green, I went over my 2 minutes that I was going to try to stick to.
Oh no, I didn't have the clock going, so you are good, Board President.
Okay.
A lot of people in the chat are asking for clarification on the Friday. There is no remote learning on tomorrow by way of Southfield Public Schools. We want our staff to take a moment to regroup, refresh, rejuvenate in preparation for Monday's planning for emergency operating procedures. And we want our families to have conversations with our children. We want you to be able to discuss these very important things happening throughout our community and throughout our state and throughout our country with your children. And for those of you that don't know where to begin, we have resources for you as well. Dr. Freeman has provided a number of resources, and I'm still receiving some from some of the national psychological associations, etc. So we'll make sure that we compile all of those and get those in your hands. There were a couple other questions that I saw that popped up that I wanted to address. The one regarding metal detectors, let me address that now because I see it's come up more than one time. We are a school. We are not a penitentiary. And we have a lot of openings. And the chief is in support of metal detectors. Let me just state that publicly, because we've debated this on a number of occasions. Again, we only have so many dollars, so we have to use those dollars wisely, and we do not want to create an environment that is going to imprison our children. The school district as a whole, if you look at the history of education, we are a paramilitary institution simply by the nature of school districts. We were formed off of a military model. And I'm not going to say that's bad or that's good. It is. And now we have a different society. So we have to move differently. What are some things that are being considered immediately? Upgrading all of our video surveillance equipment, getting the doors that automatically lock, ensuring that all of the equipment we have is in good operating condition, adding to areas that we currently have deficits. All of these things are significant and they are going to cost money. And I see someone says, spend the money for metal detectors. You have metal detectors at one entrance. You have many entrances in schools. If someone wants to get something on our property or on any property, I know I've heard the athletic stadiums, I've heard all of it. Now, if the board wants me to move forward with metal detectors, it will be a directive, but that's not on the top of our list. The top of our list is educating everyone, getting everyone informed on what resources we have, making sure that everything that is done within our facilities is visible, that we have a recorded record of it. And eventually, if we get to the point that we need metal detectors, then we are doing something wrong. And when I say we are doing something wrong, I don't just mean the educators, I mean the parents on this call as well. Because every child that comes into our school comes from your home. So let's be honest and look at ourselves in the mirror. This incident that happened on Tuesday of this week, the parent bought the weapon the week before. And I promised myself I would not get emotional on this call, but these babies belong to all of us. This staff belongs to all of us, and we have to do better collectively. Some people send their children to us to get them out of the house for the day because they don't know what to do with them. Instead of sending them because you don't know what to do, reach out to us and work with us, work with our partners to make sure that we are getting you the support that you need to help educate. I've said on one occasion, if I've said it on one occasion, I've said it on many others. When you go to a nursery at a hospital, you don't see babies that are sexist, racist, bullies, fighting, etc. It is what we do as a society that impacts and influences who they become. So the next screen is a call to action. We need your help. We need to work together to make sure that our children, this next generation, has everything that they need to be successful. Now, someone asked about what happened at Southfield Regional. Now, do you really want to know what happened at Southfield Regional because you're concerned about the children there, or do you just want to know to be in the know? Let's have a real talk this evening. What happened was there was someone with an issue. And what also happened is our well-trained school resource officer and our administrator did what they were trained to do to take care of the situation, which resulted in 0 incidents and that young person getting the help that they needed. That is unacceptable at all of our schools. And if anyone else needs support, we will take care of that as well. Someone has asked about COVID spikes and now threats. We are operating within the guidance having been provided by the state. But if you came to the meeting earlier, you saw the list of people that we have engaged in conversations, including but not limited to our state superintendent, who is giving us some flexibility and grace. Will we go virtual? Will we go remote? Only time will tell. But for right now, we can only address the immediate. And our immediate is taking care of each other and taking care of our students. Tomorrow, we want family days to ensure that that happens. We want our staffs to take care of self, and then on Monday, we want to plan. I've heard, Dr. Green, you don't have children here. Well, that's because all my grandchildren have graduated from Southfield Public Schools. I don't have any more right now. I just got 2 new great grandbabies. They won't be in Bussy for 2 more years, but they will be coming to Southfield as well. So for those that think I make decisions that have nothing to do with my children, they're all my children. And I continue to populate the district, as evidenced by my grandchildren. We are committed to making Southfield Public Schools the #1 school district, not only in Michigan, but in the Midwest and eventually in the country. We already have 1 school that's in the top 10. All of our schools should be in the top 10. What's good for one is good for all. Are IDs being enforced? Yes. We have just gotten all of our students with IDs, with the exception, I think, of 183, and we just bought new equipment to ensure that they have IDs as well. Parents, we cannot do this alone. I've also reached out to some of our faith-based leaders to give them a call to action. We need everyone to ensure that our community is whole. I'm sorry, Board President, I went on a tangent, but this is.
You said what needed to be said. So all hands on deck. You know, if you want to know where you can help, let any of us know, and we can use everybody. Because I'm sure if those parents were more involved in that child living in Oxford, we might not be having this conversation right now. And they're not the only ones. We have folk in our community that need to step up and help. So all hands on deck.
All hands on deck.
Green.
I'm sorry, there were a couple other trustees I was going to afford you an opportunity to speak as well. I didn't know in what order.
Thank you.
Okay, I think
Through the chair. Board President, we had one question that come up that I think is relevant and so key, and if we can give some response regarding that. The question was, for some parents that receive concerning information, who do they contact? How do they share that information? And if that information has been shared with the teacher, what is our response process for that?
I think Doc got an answer for that one.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Rice. And we addressed it earlier, and we'll make sure we get that out there in perpetuity so that everyone continues to receive that information. So we have a multitude of resources. They can contact the building level leader, they can contact central office, they can contact the police department, they can contact the sheriff's department, and they can contact OK to Say, which is a partnership that we have with the district. So we will make sure that all that information gets out. Mr. Marshall and Mr. Jackson, I know you're both on the call. We'll make sure, and Ms. Harvey, our communications person, who's been doing a great job getting information out to you all, we will get that out.
So no disrespect to the sisters, but I'm gonna tell you, every morning I'm out making sure that I greet the students at my children's school and help them out into the building. We need more brothers out here getting relationships with these kids so that they can see us and what we tolerate and what we don't tolerate. So again, it's a community effort. And I believe that Trustee Johnson, you had something that you wanted to chime in?
Nope, I didn't have anything.
Or was it another trustee? I'm sorry. Okay, Dr. Green, back to you and your agenda.
Thank you. There are a couple questions coming up relative to COVID and removing children from school if they're concerned about COVID. That's another safety issue. So since someone lifted it, it wasn't the topic of conversation this evening, but let's go ahead and address it. We as a district provided a myriad of opportunities through our healthcare providers to bring every type of vaccine clinic to our district. For those that are anti-vaccine, we at a bare minimum need to follow the CDC guidance relative to not congregating in large areas, making sure we're doing the hand washing, making sure that we're using hand sanitizer, making sure that we're wearing masks. We are not spreading COVID in a petri dish in our schools. It is coming into our buildings each day by way of community spread. That being said, we need everyone to follow the basic CDC guidance. All of the medical doctors that we have worked with to date indicate that vaccination is the best and fastest way to get beyond where we are with COVID. I'm not going to say get over, because I don't believe we will ever get over a virus. It's going to continue to mutate, but it is the best way, according to the medical doctors, to move beyond where we are. That said, I respect everyone's individual choice based on their religion, if that is not something they are going to do. At this point, it is not a mandate from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. However, if it becomes one, that will be one of the mandated child school age vaccines. We will also enforce that. We want to keep our children in school every day. We went to school to become educators, to work with your children. We spent thousands and thousands of dollars and countless hours and years to study and to practice to work with children. We don't take this lightly, but we have to be safe in doing it. Now, someone lifted Gang Squad and said they might be dating themselves. Well, if that's the case, you're dating me as well, because I remember Gang Squad. And while Southfield Police Department, they don't have Gang Squad, they do have some tactical team members. And what they have that I absolutely love is that of their cyber department is amazing. I'm not sure if Chief, if you're still on there, but every time I've ever brought you anything, your team has solved it in record time. And we know exactly who we're looking for. So I don't want to speak to your department. I just want to give you that accolade. If you can talk to us a little bit about what we have, I know maybe dating you as well if we talk about Gang Squad. So
yeah, so we do have a dynamic individuals who manage our cyber crimes, whether it's phone analytics, whether it's internet, and also we partner, because I want to make sure we understand this is a partnership. When I say partnership, we have resources through the county, the state, the FBI, and so it works in tandem with one another. But as Dr. Green said, we are able to very quickly identify individuals with their live, and some even live out of some of these that we conduct our investigations. So bringing it up because it's important that the community knows we have these resources, and for the community to be confident that we will conduct thorough investigations in the City of Southfield Police Department.
thank you, Chief. Mr. Marshall, you are normally my Q&A guy, and so I tried to grab everything that I could out of the questions, but
searching through, and so far it looks like you answered everything. A lot of my repeat questions.
Just recap. Well, I got to just do it for you. There is no school tomorrow. There is no school on Monday for either remote learning or in person. So stay tuned to your emails, to your text messages for any updates if we have to pivot further. But as of today, school will be on Tuesday?
Tuesday for the students and Monday for the staff.
Okay.
Board President,
Ma'am.
if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
So Dr. Green took some time to say thank you to the board, to the staff, to the administration. But I think it's important that the community understands how exactly this administration and staff and EDN team actually work. We receive emails all night. I pretty much know that Dr. Green has not slept. I know for sure that along with myself, Board President, Trustee P.O.W.E.R, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Marshall, Dr. Green, Summer Caldwell, Ms. Venable were all present at a vaccination clinic, and some of them were getting boosters, vaccinations. They didn't have kids there. They were just there to be present. So when you talk about people who are working around the clock, this is the district's norm. They don't complain about it. They reach out to families. They help when needed. So I know everybody has concerns, but I can say as the parent of an alumni of the district who's now in college and a third grader who's at Stevenson, that I trust this district with my children. And so we're asking you to trust us to make the right decisions because we're present and we see how these people move and they are dedicated and they are committed. Chief Barron is not a member of the district, but we see him at everything. So
he's an ex officio member of the district. He is a part of the family.
It's just not about a job, it's about community. So I just wanted to make our community aware of that. And thank you for your patience. And thank you for partnering and collaborating with us as we move and navigate through this. It's the only way we get through it, is together. So again, Dr. Green, thank you to you and your team, to the rest of the board, trustees, thank you all for your partnership. And I know we will work to make Southfield District even more of a trendsetter than it already is. So thank you all.
Thank you, Trustee Bland. And I know that for some of our parents on the call that may be wondering about OTEC tomorrow. So I know Chief mentioned OTAC. So we have a lot of acronyms in education. So I just need to make sure I'm clear. OTAC is the tactical unit. OTEC is the career centers offered throughout our county. OTEC is canceled for tomorrow as well. Again, I think this is probably the first time in history that all of Oakland County schools, public school districts, will be closed on tomorrow. Not everyone will have a restart or refresh day, but definitely Southfield Public Schools will be doing self-care on tomorrow.
So Doc, you got a couple more things. So Aaron, I'm not trying to take your spot, man. I'm just looking at the chat.
You're doing a good job. Keep
So
going.
so we got a couple of questions related, since this call is about safety. We cannot just move past COVID safety. There's a couple reminders that, you know, you can help us by making sure your child comes to school ready with their mask, and that they have to wear those masks at all times. Because again, we're trying to mitigate the risk of spread. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and if we can get a notice out as we're sending communications, reminding the community to make sure that students have their mask. The other question that I saw was related to this meeting for those who came in late. So Dr. Green, if you could have this link of the recording maybe placed on our website, so that the community, if they wanted to catch up or to revisit things discussed, they can hear that as well.
Absolutely. Ms. Hart.
And one more. There is a directive from the board that you take some downtime, because, you know, as well as the rest of the teachers, please tomorrow take time to, you know, to get yourself recharged and ready.
Did you see the calendar?
You know what? So you know, we can have a performance review right now if you want to.
So I am going to have to ask, I'm going to have to ask for forgiveness because, you know, I sit on the board of a major hospital and they're meeting tomorrow. And since this Omicron variant is here, I need the information so I can bring it back to you.
Understood. But after that,
there's one more. I'm just going to ask for forgiveness now. The Oakland County Soups have another meeting tomorrow morning. But after those two, James, that means I can't meet with you tomorrow. You got to cancel that.
She can't meet with you tomorrow, James.
Ms. Paula will clear the remainder of the calendar separate and apart from those two. Thank you.
Excuse me, Dr. Green, there is a question about Champion Camp being closed tomorrow.
I think Catherine is on the call from Champions. So again, I didn't want to release that information to anyone until we had this conversation, because we also have an issue with sharing too publicly at times or too prematurely. So this is the first time that the information is being spread on a global scale. Catherine, if you are on there, can you address that? I believe they may be closed as well because they too need some time. But I will defer that to her. We don't know if OTEC, the question about OTEC being closed on Monday, we don't know that just yet. As Sheriff P.O.W.E.R mentioned in his press conference today, he issued a statement that he fully believes that schools will be ready to reopen on Monday. That is because there are 40 additional FBI agents here locally tracking down some of these social media pieces. So when I say that the FBI is here, I don't mean just one person. You have the special agent in charge. You have one of the federal prosecutors here, and you have 40 additional FBI agents working specifically in Oakland County to ensure that we are all safe. So I don't know what Monday will bring. It's all dependent. Monday will bring for OTEC. I do know what Monday will bring for Southfield Public Schools. No students, staff only. Data points, as we receive data, we make mid-course corrections. And I will keep you abreast by way of my phenomenal team if indeed we find out that they will be canceling on Monday as well. There was one more question.
Yeah, so Doc, so they're asking, so extracurriculars, Doc. So
everything.
No basketball games, no volleyball.
Tomorrow, everything. I want the coaches, the players, everything.
Sorry, Doc. Saturday. So there's a basketball game on Saturday. So my question is, are there extracurriculars over the weekend canceled?
And I think we have the middle school basketball on Saturday. And I believe, Aaron, you're shaking your head, yes. I believe they are still moving forward. Tomorrow is a no day across the board, but Saturday will move forward. However, you will receive something from our athletic director, Mr. Mark Woodson, to affirm that. But at this time, I am going to venture to say yes. There was something about lockers and I missed it. You know, as the questions come in, they move around. So I lost that one.
With regarding lockers and cell phones being, the policy of lockers being placed in cell phones, Dr. Green.
So I'm not sure if this is a procedure that you're referencing or a policy, because we don't have a policy that speaks specifically to cell phones being placed in lockers. I'm going to be honest. I've walked through an elementary building and I've heard a cell phone ringing in a backpack hanging on a hook in the hallway. I had to go and put my ear next to all the backpacks to figure out which one was ringing. So I'm baffled at the fact that it was a first grader, had a parent or some adult calling them in the middle of a school day and the phone was in a backpack. So we're trying to help narrow down things that can accomplish both the safety and security and your peace of mind while your babies, our babies, are with us, but also that keeps the continuity of instruction happening. So we'll look at those procedures because they're not currently policies. The board is the only individual that can set policies. Something about restocking soap. We have ample soap. We have ample hand sanitizer. We have ample face masks. We have all those things. We've been stocking them. Therefore, we want to make sure that if there is an issue in a building, follow the chain of command, put the issue in the proper channel, and the team will come out and refresh it.
Doc, there's a question that just came up that you and I talked about this afternoon.
Where are we? Okay.
It says, as a precaution, can we eliminate students being allowed to carry backpacks to class?
Yeah, we had this conversation today. So pre-pandemic, I would have said absolutely. However, we have now asked students, particularly at the secondary level, to bring their Chromebooks back and forth. Our board has invested a significant amount of resources into providing Chromebooks for our students. I can't very well ask them to carry them in their hands in the event that things happen. It's winter, ice, slip, we don't know. So what we're going to look into is the possibility of clear cases for our Chromebooks for students to be able to bring them back and forth, but we don't know at this point. So we'll continue working on that. I know that many of the athletic arenas and some of the other public entities don't allow purses or backpacks or things of that nature. Chief, you might be able to speak to that more than I, but I do know that we have Chromebooks that need to come back and forth for the secondary students.
Institutions who do not allow bags in unless they're clear and then they're smaller size. So that's something that your team will discuss, and I'm sure you'll come up with the best solution for the school district.
And in all honesty, Chief, we know based on the situation we had most recently, the individual did not have the device in their backpack. They had their device on their person. So the elimination of backpack is one mechanism, but it's not, again, the only solution that will solve our problems. We have to address the root cause. whether that root cause is some type of mental illness, depression, whatever it is someone is facing, being bullied, we have to address the root causes of these things. The action is what occurs when you don't address the root cause. So we are focusing more intently on addressing the root causes and providing the necessary resources there. Well, team, it is exactly 7 o'clock on the dot. I thank you so much for your time, Chief. I know you had another engagement, and as always, I appreciate you taking the time to adjust your calendar to work with us. And hopefully I won't have to call you at 4:30 tomorrow morning, but I appreciate you answering the call each and every time that I have to call you. So thank you.
Yeah, you call me anytime. As I said before, we're a partner. This partnership, I'm happy to be here, and we got this relationship formed early on. And so let's continue that. If I do receive messages, they are welcome. Certainly, it's important to go through the schools, but I am accessible to the community if they have concerns or questions.
Thank you, sir. Board President, would you like to close with any final message?
Let's continually pray for our community, pray for our teachers, pray for our students, and let's continue progressing. Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you all. Bye-bye.